Travel ads that look too good to be true? Well, they just might be.
In every country there are going to be cowboys out there.
Also this week we have the best travel sites on the web.
And I'm here in Buenos Aires, Argentina, to find out if the blitz of new boutique hotels hitting the city is just a fad or the next big thing.
Hello, I'm Fiona Foster. Welcome to Fast Track. Now, I think we've all done it. Certainly, I've lost count of the number of times I've spotted a bargain flight online or a great-looking holiday deal in the paper, only to find that when I sit down and actually try to book it, it's not available. And I'm not alone in my frustration, it seems, because it's an increasingly common complaint amongst travellers. So what's being done to crack down on the ads that don't add up? They are the siren songs of the travel industry that lure you in with the promise of a great deal. But all too often, those fantastic sounding ads for flights, hotels and holidays turn out to be just that, pure fantasy. And it's something which drives travel consumers around the world mad.
You see a great offer and you think, I'd love to go and do that, and then you start trying to book it and you actually see that it's no longer available or that you're going to have to pay much more money. And having made that emotional commitment to go and do something, there's nothing worse than having to make a decision to either pull out or to pay much more than you were perhaps anticipating.
And then there are those adverts which set out to deliberately mislead the customer.
We've just heard from a family who are about to go on holiday during the forthcoming half term. They booked their hotel about 6 months ago, only to discover about a week ago that in fact they can't go to this hotel. They made some inquiries on the internet through travel review sites and discovered, to their horror, that in fact the hotel had been closed down in 2009.
In Asia, a common complaint is the practice known as the bait and switch.
We have cases of tour packages where the consumer signs up and then it's not told that in order for this trip to happen, they must have a certain number of people who have signed up. So they turn up on the day itself and then found that they've been switched to another package.
So when is a deal not a deal? Well, according to travel website TravelZoo, which anonymously trawls through hundreds of advertised deals every day in their 23 offices around the world, far too often.
So that's well over 750. Yeah, that's quite a lot more than I've seen on your website.
We actually sort of went through newspapers, magazines, online, looking at travel offers that were being promoted, and we discovered that actually 80% of them didn't necessarily pass our criteria. So it could have been that they weren't available, that the price was different, there was lots of hidden extras, but also that the value of the offers that were going out there actually weren't as great as perhaps they were perceived to be.
With competition to pull in customers so fierce, some airlines and tour operators have been rapped on the knuckles and forced to withdraw certain adverts for overstepping the mark. The red-hot rivalry between budget airlines EasyJet and Ryanair in particular has recently taken the form of objecting to each other's marketing. This newspaper ad, for example, showing a woman in a bikini sipping a cocktail and proclaiming "book to the sun now," was found to be misleading because the maximum temperatures of the 3 warmest destinations on offer during the promotional period were between 11 and 14 degrees. Others, like Oslo, ranged from 0 to 4 degrees. It would indeed take a hardy soul to venture out in a bikini in Norway in February. But raging airline spats aside, it's up to consumers to complain if we come across a travel advert we believe is false or misleading. And in many countries, as more and more of us research our holidays on the internet, regulatory powers are finally catching up, as the remit of advertising watchdogs, particularly in Europe, is being extended to include online websites and social media for the first time.
There was a regulatory gap It left consumers frustrated. The ASA was rejecting around 1,000 complaints a year from consumers who wanted to object to what they saw quite rightly as an ad on a company website, but wasn't subject to the rules. That led industry to be open to criticism, and the government was concerned. So industry took it upon itself to extend our remit so that they could have the same principles of legal, decent, honest and truthful on their own websites.
Lack of transparency has long been one of the main annoyances of consumers, especially when booking flights online, when the price that draws you in ends up being very different from the price you end up paying. In the UK, the Civil Aviation Authority has announced that by the 1st of June, all airlines should be displaying their fares in a clear way on their websites, including all compulsory taxes, fees and charges up front. Ryanair, which will be the last airline to alter their website as agreed, tell us they can't see what the fuss is about.
We're a little puzzled as to what all the hullabaloo is about, as all we've been asked to do is to make some minor visual changes to our website following a short consultation with the CAA.
This so-called price dripping, this practice of tempting you in with a headline price and then adding various fees and taxes as the booking goes along, is also being tackled in the US, where new regulations due to come into effect in August will require airlines to include all taxes and government-imposed fees in their advertised fares.
I think it's a great boon for consumers to actually see all the taxes in the airfares. Unfortunately, a lot of airlines, when they send you an email, will say $179 to Europe, say from New York City, or even in the reverse direction. And in fact, it requires a round-trip purchase, so it's twice that, and that doesn't include taxes. So the real fare is $1,000. It's very, very deceptive, and I think it is time that the airlines kind of be upfront about it.
But there could be a downside for travellers in this new raft of rules.
They are going to cost the airlines millions of dollars to implement, and eventually that cost is going to be passed on to consumers. But I think it's better to have full disclosure of fees and taxes rather than have passengers surprised when they get to the check-in counter.
Cultural differences mean that what seems unacceptable in one part of the world may not be a problem in others. In Asia, for example, holiday package descriptions which might be viewed elsewhere as less than honest are generally understood as normal. Say, for example, you decide to take a cruise from Singapore Harbour, leaving at 9 p.m. on a Friday night, returning the next day at 3 in the afternoon.
How long have you been away by industry standards? And by industry standards, even though you've been away only 18 hours, they say you've been away 2 days and 1 night. From 9 p.m. to midnight is 1 day. From midnight to 6 a.m. is a night. From 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. is another day. 2 days and 1 night. So we have cases of people being on the plane at 11:55 to Europe, 10:55 p.m. to Europe, and they've spent 1 day already on the tour package.
So what's the advice when you're searching through those thousands of so-called deals out there?
If it looks too good to be true, then it probably is. If you're going online to book your holiday, check the website with other forums and travel review sites. Make sure that they're members of trade bodies. Make sure you check all the facts on the website with all of these sources. If you're then happy, then perhaps that's the time to think about booking with that particular company.
So have you been a victim of false or misleading claims when you've tried to book a holiday recently? Or maybe you found a great deal that actually turned out to be everything it was cracked up to be. Do get in touch and let us know. In fact, there have been a number of issues over the past few weeks which have had you reaching for your keyboards and emailing into us. The difficulty in getting visas to the UK was certainly something that touched a nerve.
Trying to get a UK visa for a holiday is humiliating and almost impossible if you come from Azerbaijan.
Sometimes I have no clue what important documents are really needed to get a visa.
At the beginning of this year, the British consulate in the Netherlands shut down. Now one has to travel to Dusseldorf or Paris to get one.
If the UK can afford to have embassies, why not give them the mandate to issue visas?
But the UK wasn't the only country that presented problems.
I have never had any problems at UK immigration. However, as a Mauritian citizen, if I want to travel to the USA, I can't.
While many of you were glad to see the plight of missing journalist Michael Dixon highlighted.
I've just seen the story and was appalled. As a small gesture of support for the Dixon family, I've sent an email to the Costa Rican Tourist Board. Thank you for highlighting Mr. Dixon's case.
And if you'd like more information on the appeal for Michael Dixon, the website address is on your screen. And if you've any thoughts on these or any other travel-related issues, we'd love to hear from you. The address to write to is fasttracktravel@bbc.co.uk. Now let's have a look at what else is making the news in the world of travel this week. Cuba may allow its citizens to travel abroad as tourists for the first time in over 50 years. The proposed move is one of the reforms backed by the Communist Party Congress. Currently, Cubans wishing to travel abroad must file a request that may be turned down and can cost hundreds of dollars. Europe's biggest travel operator, TUI, has posted pre-tax losses of over $500 million for the 6 months ending March this year. The operator runs over 200 different travel agencies and tour operators across the continent. The group blamed losses on turmoil in the Middle East and a later Easter period. Egypt's former tourism minister, Zuhair Garana, has been jailed for 5 years on charges of corruption. Garana was charged with wasting public funds worth $51 million and is also believed to have handed out tourism licenses illegally. And London's National Gallery is to limit visitors to a major exhibition of the works of Leonardo da Vinci. Admissions will be fixed at 180 people every half hour, and gallery officials advise patrons to book tickets in advance. The decision to limit numbers follows outbreaks of what one critic referred to as gallery rage, where visitors struggle to view works of art because of the large crowds. Coming up after the break, Carmen has some travel inspiration on the web, including a handy app for all those cyclists among you. And we'll be hot-footing it to Argentina for a taste of the tango.